103.2 Preston FM.
Your community.
Your radio.
Now, Embarrassing Bodies is an award-winning reality medical series, as you all know, and it's been broadcast by Channel 4 since 2007. Hard to believe, 2007. And on the phone right now, we've got Dr. Dawn Harper from ITV's Embarrassing Bodies. So a very good morning to you, Dawn.
Good morning.
So, what do you think is the success of the programme? What makes it such an award-winning show?
It's amazing, isn't it? And I have to admit that, like everybody else in the country, when I was first approached and asked to audition for the show, my immediate reaction was, I think it's a great idea. You know, as a doctor, I have seen people literally die of embarrassment, you know, not come and see us with bleeding bottoms or lumps in their breasts or whatever it may be until it's too late. So anything that's going to bring people through the door sooner, you know, gets a great big tick in my book. But I remember saying to the producer, it won't work in England though, we've got a free NHS, why on earth would people come and show all on national television? They don't have to, you know, take it to a country where people genuinely can't afford healthcare. How wrong could I have been? You know, we are flooded with applicants to be on the show. I think some of the success, it's Channel 4, it's cheeky, it's been a little bit shocking, I think, for some people. What it does do, though, is it's brought healthcare into the world of a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily have considered health. So a lot of the younger people are very interested in the show, and it does educate along the way. I think we've had support from some of the top specialists in the country. We've been so fortunate, and undoubtedly that brings some people to us because they know that they are going to get treatment that perhaps they couldn't get on the NHS. But I'm as surprised as anybody else at just how successful it's been. We're loving it, long may it last, and hopefully we'll be bringing lots more to your screens very soon.
I know, and I must admit that I also do watch the show very regularly, and I sit there and some of the conditions that people come along with, I just can't believe that they've been living with some, to me as a layperson, what seems quite a serious condition for quite some time. And what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm often asked, one of the commonest questions I get asked is, you know, what's the worst thing you've seen, or what's shocked you the most on the show? And actually, what Pixie and Christian and I see, the people that we meet in Embarrassing Bodies, are the sort of people that GPs up and down the country meet every day of the week. The difference for us, of course, is that there are television cameras watching what we're doing. And so it's not shocking in terms of the medicine, but what you've just said is the shocking thing, is just what lengths people go to hide a particular condition, or how long they put up with it before they come to ask for help. And that's been quite an education to me. I've been GP for many, many years. But of course, although you see patients on the television just for a couple of minutes, their appointments with us in Embarrassing Bodies Clinic are about an hour long. So we get a long time to talk to people about the impact, the emotional and psychological impacts of their condition. And that has been quite an eye-opener to me, really, just how much people suffer. And for every person that comes on the show, it's lovely to see them fixed, but actually I think they do an awful lot in the way of getting other people to come forward. And I see my own patients, you know, people I've known for years, who come in and see me after the show has been on air and say, actually, you saw, or Pixie saw, a person with XYZ last night or last week, and I think I might have that problem. And they've known me for a long time, and yet they almost needed the show to give them that green light to come in and make the appointment.
And I'm sure what must be a positive spin-off of the programme is the fact that things that we don't normally talk about in everyday life are discussed on TV. I was thinking particularly about the issues to do with maybe urinary incontinence, which is, of course, something people don't talk about, but then when they watch someone on TV, they find out that, in fact, it can be quite a common condition.
You're so right. I think incontinence probably is sort of the last taboo. We are much better at talking about health issues today than we were even 10 years ago. But, you know, in all the years of general practice, pre-Embarrassing Bodies, I think I could count on the fingers of one hand how often a patient would come in and straight away say, I've got a problem, I wet myself. It's always the symptom that's mentioned as the hand is on the door handle about to leave, and actually there is another thing, doctor, you know. Interestingly, since the show, I have had people who've used the fact that it's been on air as an opening line to come in and say that I've got this problem, and it's an incredibly common problem, and very common in younger women. You know, anybody who's had babies is at risk of having some incontinence. Mostly that gets an awful lot better and isn't a problem with some pelvic floor exercises, but there are millions of people up and down the country who are suffering today and going to all sorts of lengths to hide urinary incontinence. So if we can do anything to get those people to come forward and seek help, because there is so much help and so much that we can do, then that's got to be a great thing.
And I suppose another thing is that is nice to see are that men seem to be able to come forward and talk about things that maybe, again, otherwise they would not be able to talk about.
Yes, we always give men a hard time, don't we? We always moan that they don't come and see us. And I think there are lots of reasons for that, to be fair. And I'm generalising now, but I think it is more likely that the man of the house will be working full-time, and therefore getting appointments to see us is more tricky. But also, I think women generally will be much more likely to have a relationship with their own practice, their own surgery, because they've got to go for contraception, they go for their smears, they go when they're pregnant, they take the children. So they not only will know their way around the surgery, they probably know which doctor they prefer to see and so on. Whereas a lot of guys will probably still be registered with their parents' practice, which might be hundreds of miles away. But I do think certainly the show, I hope, has helped men to come forward. I think there are lots of reasons why they don't. And we do we cover all sorts of embarrassing conditions by nature of the name of the show. And I think it has helped a lot of men to come in and as I say, it's the same sort of thing. It's that green light. It's the sort of, it's how do I tell somebody that I'm suffering with this problem? Well, actually, if your opening line is, I was watching this show last night, then you've got your in. And certainly my GP colleagues around the country moan at me that when the show is on air, they reckon it generates around 40 appointments per doctor per week.
Is that right?
I said, well, I'm not going to apologise for that, because that's precisely what it's designed to do.
Wow. And I mean also, additionally, recently, there's been an autism test that people can take part in online. Recently, the show has now been doing kind of consultations by webcam, which is quite something different.
Yes, we've so Embarrassing Bodies Live from the Clinic started its 8-week run last Tuesday, so I'm going into the studio today and we'll be on air at 8 o'clock tonight. And we do webcam consultations. This series we are really trying to focus on mental health. So we've got my Mind Checker, and there are various different tests which we are actually going to use the data. So anybody's individual results are obviously completely confidential to them, but the anonymous data is actually going to form probably the largest national survey of various different mental health issues. And I think it's a really important thing. Mental health is a huge burden individually to people and on the NHS and on the workforce and so on. And it's a difficult one to cover. We've often been asked about covering it on Embarrassing Bodies, and it's very difficult because you've got to be terribly careful not to, by definition, you're dealing with quite vulnerable people. So I think the way we're trying to do this is to really bring it into the main arena and get people aware of these things, get people testing themselves, make it easier for people to be able to talk about mental health issues. So I'm actually quite excited about this. I hope we've got it right, because as I say, I think it's a very sensitive issue. But if we can really start to help people to come forward and seek help when they've got these sort of concerns, then that's going to be just great.
And as you say, you're filming in Manchester today. People can see it on tonight. How many people will probably pass through the clinic today?
Gosh, I don't know. Pixie is in Manchester today. She was in Cardiff last week, and I think she was run off her feet.
Yes.
So, if anybody's got anything they want to talk to Pixie about, please do. There's a huge truck somewhere in the centre of Manchester, and I will be up there tomorrow. So I leave the studio. We're on air between 8 and 9 tonight, and then I get straight into a car and screech up to Manchester so that I can be in the truck tomorrow. So the people of Manchester and around have got 2 days if they want to come forward, and actually we'd love to be busy. So if you've got a problem, come and see us.
And you did refer to this earlier, and as you said, it's a question that you always get asked about maybe being shocked by what you see. So far you must have come across some very unusual conditions, but nothing really that has shocked you that people are coping with?
If you'd asked me that 6 months ago, I would have said no, not really. 6 months ago, I was shocked for the first time. I was filming in Weymouth, and I saw a gentleman with a problem with his testicles. I can't even remember what the problem was, but he went off, and I saw the next couple of patients, and he came back. He said he had something else he wanted to show me, and he picked his sleeve of his T-shirt up, and he had it tattooed on his arm the Embarrassing Bodies logo. And I said to him, I've been doing this job for 7 years, and I've always said nothing has shocked me, but you have just shocked me.
Oh dear. So a long day of filming ahead then?
2 long days of filming ahead, but that'll be great.
Lovely.
We want to be busy, so come and see us.
Okay, well, thank you for taking time out to talk to us today. And as I say, it is, and with the question mark before and after, a show that's become so popular. Everybody you talk to these days have seen Embarrassing Bodies.
I hope so, and long may it last. I think it's done a great job, actually, in getting people to think about their health and to come forward to the likes of me in their NHS surgery and seek help. So we're loving what we're doing. Hopefully the British public will continue to love it, and we'll carry on.
Okay, well, thank you for talking to us today, and enjoy the remainder of the day.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, bye-bye.
If you've got news, views or events you'd like to share with us and the Chat City team, why not give us an email, chatcity@preston.fm.